Thank you so much for coming and joining us this wonderful evening for the learning of Torah Hashem. Be'ezras Hashem Yisbarach. We are holding at the very top of Nun Tes Amud Aleph. Yesh te'unais shemen u'levaina. There are some menachos, actually most menachos, that necessitate both oil and frankincense. Then there are some shemen v'loy levaina, oil and not frankincense. Then there are some levaina v'loy shemen, frankincense and not oil. And then there are those, actually three, that loy levaina v'loy shemen, no frankincense and no shemen. First we're going to learn the 10 that need both oil and levaina. Ve'elu tuna shemen u'levaina, the following need oil and frankincense. Minchas haseilus, the regular fine flour mincha. V'machbetz, the griddle mincha. V'macheshes, the deep fry mincha. V'achalas, the mincha that's baked, whether they're loaves, rakikin, or wafers. Minchas kahanim, mincha that's brought by the kohanim, which is burnt totally on the mizbeach. Minchas kayim Mashiach, that's brought every day, half in the morning, half in the afternoon. Minchas ovid kechavim, the mincha sent by a guy. Minchas Nashim, the mincha of women. Minchas ha'aymer, the mincha brought on the 16th of Nisan. And minchas, those are the 10. Now, minchas nesachim, a mincha of libation, that means a mincha that accompanies the karbanas. Tuna shemen, it has oil, but ve'ein tuna levain, it doesn't have frankincense. Lechem aponim, the showbread that is changed from week to week on the shulchan, ton levaina, has 2 spoonfuls of frankincense, ain't ton shemen, it has no oil. And now the 3 that don't have either, shtei alechem, the 2 loaves on Shavuos, uminchas chayte, the mincha of the sinner, uminchas kanais, the mincha brought by a saita, ain't tu'unin loy shemen v'loy levain. It doesn't have oil, it doesn't have levain. Now first the Gemara says that the number is 10, which excludes one opinion. Amra Papa, kol heicha ditanan, when it teaches us the menachos, which have oil and frankincense, eser tanan. It's 10, like in our Mishnah. La fuke with Rabbi Shimon, that excludes the opinion of Rabbi Shimon that the mincha mafetana you could also bring half loaves and half rakikin. La fuke with Rabbi Shimon, to exclude the opinion of Rabbi Shimon, the amar machzah chalos or machzah rakikin, that you have a choice to bring 5 chalos and 5 wafers, which would add an 11th one. Kamash Malan, not like that. The lie. Now, we learned a lot of details over here, and the Gemara is going to show us how we know it. It's going to be a fact-finding mission in the derivation of these halachas. Tana Rabbanan, v'nesata aleha shemen. Now, aleha over here means the minchas aymer. You put on the minchas aymer shemen, v'loy alechem aponim shemen. As we said, the showbread only has frankincense; it doesn't have oil. Sheyachal, because I would think v'aloy dinu oma minchas nesachim she'ein tuna levaina, which doesn't have frankincense, tuna shemen lechem aponim shita and levaina that does have frankincense. Einoy din shita and shemen, it should surely need to have oil. Talmud leimer aleha. Aleha shemen only on the minchas aymer is the shemen v'loy alechem aponim shemen. Now,
how do we know that the Natzat Alecha Shemen is Minchas Aymer?
What?
How do we know the pasuk for Natzat Alecha Shemen is Minchas Aymer?
It's not in the parasha of Aymer?
I don't believe so.
I think it is. V'samta aleh levaina, and you place upon her levaina, says the Gemara, again, aleha levaina, on the aymer you put levaina, v'loy al minchas nesachim levaina, and not on the mincha that accompanies libations levaina. Because I would say a kal v'chaymer that the minchas nesachim should need levaina. Sheyachol avalei dinu ma lechem upon she'ein ton shemen doesn't necessitate oil. Ton levina minchas nesachim shetuna shemen that needs oil ain't a din shetuna levina. Surely it should need levina. Talmud leimer aleha levina only the minchas aimer is levina v'loy al minchas nesachim levina. Then it says an extra mincha l'rabbis mincha shmini lelevina. That the mincha that was brought on the 8th day of the inauguration of the Mishkan needs levina. He is a miyat. He lahaitzi shtei alechem, that comes to exclude the shtei alechem. Shelo yitanu loy shemen v'loy levina. That the shtei alechem is one of the 3 that doesn't have oil and it doesn't have frankincense. So now, unlike Gedalia, who wanted to know what Aleha is, the Gemara wants to know, how do we know that we exclude precisely these things? We said Aleha needs shemen and not the lechem upon him. How do you know it comes to tell you not the lechem upon him? Maybe it comes to tell you not something else. How do you know that when it says aleha, it comes to tell you that the minchas nesachim doesn't get levina? Maybe it's something else that doesn't get levina. So the Gemara is going to work this out. It's going to play the game of which one it's more similar to. Amamar is like Gufa. We're going to analyze something. Oleh shemen, the omer is shemen, v'loy alechem aponim shemen, and not the showbread. So the Gemara says, how do you know that's coming to exclude the lechem aponim? Ema oleh shalom v'loy al minchas kahanim shemen. And maybe there's no shemen and minchas kahanim. Minchas kahanim is different. It doesn't have a kmitza. So maybe it's telling you that minchas kahanim doesn't have shemen. Says Gemara, no. If you want to know which one is more similar to the Aimer, Mistavra minchas kahanim havalei l'revuye. It's mistavra that we include the minchas kahanim. That it should have oil. Shekein yisaron, just like the Aimer is in yisaron, the minchas kahanim is in yisaron. Keli. Both are needed in a keli. Chutz, both are done outside, while the lechem aponim is done inside. V'tzura, and both become disqualified if they lose their tzura, if left overnight, while the lechem aponim is good the whole week. Hagasha, both are brought to the southwest corner, which is not the case with lechem aponim. V'ishim, and both are consigned to the fire. The lechem aponim is not consigned to the fire, it's all eaten. So then the Gemara says, no, adirabba. Lechem aponim havalei l'revuye. The lechem aponim has more similarities to the Aimer. Shekein tzibura, they're both korban tzibur. The Aimer and the lechem aponim are both communal. Chayva, they're both obligatory. Tamya, they're both even done b'tumah. The achil, they're both eaten. Ma'ashein kein minchas kahanim is totally burnt. Pigula, they both have pigul. While minchas kahanim, since it doesn't have a matir, it doesn't have pigul. And b'shapseh, they're both done even on Shabbos. Both the Aimer and the lechem aponim are both done on Shabbos. Says Gemara, yes, but mistavra in the pasuk where it says the shemen, it says nefesh, an individual. So it's mistavra, the one that has the Aimer, the oil, is the one that's brought by an individual, namely the minchas kahanim, and it's the lechem aponim that we exclude. So now let's turn to our exclusion from aleha of the minchas nesachim, the mincha of libations, from levina. Amamar, aleha levina, the Omer has levona, v'loy al minchas nesachim levina. The mincha that accompanies the libations doesn't have levina. So says the Gemara, Ema aleha levina. Why don't we say that the Eimer has levina, v'le'al minchas kahanim levina? Again, the minchas kahanim doesn't have a kmitza, so maybe it doesn't have levina. So the Gemara says no. Mistavra minchas kahanim avalei l'revuya. We already explained that minchas kahanim has a lot in similarity to the Eimer. Shekein yisarein, because it's only one yisarein. Ma'ashen kein the minchas nesachim depends if it's a par or a ayil. Bolul, it's kneaded with oil. Now in this case, the minchas bolul is a little bit interesting. It means you see, you read it together. When I was preparing this, shekein isaran bolul. It's kneaded with an isaran. It's kneaded with an isaran. Ma'ashen kein the minchas nesachim is depending on how what it is, a keves, a par. Belug, it's a lug of oil. Mugash, it's brought to the southwestern corner. Biglal etzem, and it's brought for itself. Now that's not true with the minchas nesachim, which is brought to accompany a carbon. So the Gemara says, Adarabba minchas nesachim avalei l'rebuye. The minchas nesachim should be included. Shekein tzibura, like the Omer, it's a tzibur. Chayva, it's obligatory. Yitame, it's brought b'tomah. B'Shabbos, it's brought on Shabbos. Says the Gemara again, mistavra nefesh. It says in the pasuk nefesh, it's where is there going to be levina, where it's an individual's carbon. A minchas kayin is an individual's carbon. We're holding on the first wide line on Nun Tes Amud Aleph as we welcome in Michael and Saba and Ruvain Pollack and Marshall Castle and Mo Kushner and Irving Fishbaum, Yaakov Warman, Reb Elia, Dr. Guy, Nachman Chapler, Yitzi Fuchs, Ben-Zion Cohn, Yisrael Fisher, Menachem Umansky, Eddie, who is sad to see is still here, Shimon Klein, Stephen Holtzman, Avram Rezepkowitz, Richard Rosenzweig, who's going to be sponsoring the Chumash here tonight, Yehuda Salman, Rabbi Kranz, Gabriel Epstein, Abe Arbach, Yitzi Muller, Ilya Shutman, Shelley Zeitlin, Yeshua Shmuel Eisenberg, Moshe Lehman, and David Helfkat. Here in the shul, we have Berish Gesseman, Gedalia, Chaim Kramer, Michal Avram, Reb Shloima, Danny Vogel, and Ruvain Shanit. 8 tonight. Iran is not here tonight either.
He called in. I gave him a link.
You shouldn't give it to him.
He was driving.
Oh, he's driving. Okay, well, then we welcome in Iran as well. Now, Mincha, l'rabbis Mincha Shmini l'Levina. It comes to include the Mincha of the 8th day of the inauguration, l'Levina. Says Gemara ve'ema lo haitzi. Maybe it comes to exclude it. Says Gemara, Hai ma, iyam b'shlem l'rabbis. So we wouldn't know because we don't learn out Shah Midayres. So if it didn't say it, we would know that you don't bring it. So therefore, it makes sense. It says Mincha to tell me to bring it. But if it's to exclude it, you don't need a pasuk. Lamali shamadayris layafina. We don't learn out at one time from what we always do, and we would know that we don't do it. Now, He, remember it says, he, lahaitzi shtei alechem shelo yit'anu loy shemen v'loy levayna. He comes to tell me that the shtei alechem on Shavuos doesn't have oil or frankincense. So again, the Gemara says, how do you know it's coming to exclude the shtei alechem? Maybe it's coming to exclude the Menachos Nesachim. Excuse me, maybe it's coming to exclude the Menachos Kahanim, which doesn't have a Kmitza. Mistavra Menachos Kahanim avalei levuye. Menachos Kahanim is more similar, Shekain Isarain, like the Eimer, it's one Isarain. Keli, it's kneaded in a Keli. Matzah, it's unleavened, while the Shtei Alechem is leavened. The etzem, it's brought by itself, not like the Shtei Alechem that's accompanied with the Kifsei Atzeres. Hagasha is bringing it to the southwest corner. The Ishim, and it's consigned to the fire, while the Shtei Alechem is not consigned to the fire. Says the Gemara, Adrabah, Shtei Alechem avalei l'rebuyeh. You should include the Shtei Alechem, Shekain Tzibur, it's communal. Chayva, it's obligatory like the Eimer. Tamya, it's done even betuma. The Achel and the Shtei Alechem is eaten, and the Eimer is eaten. Masha Enkein, the Menachos Kahanim is burnt. Pigula, Masha Enkein, the Menachos Kahanim doesn't have pigul because it doesn't have a matter, and it's done b'Shabbos, b'Shabsa. And says the Gemara, matir, both the Omer and the Shtei Alechem permit, the Omer permits the new crop, and the Shtei Alechem allows us to bring the karbonos from the new crop, and they both have tenufa, and both the Omer and the Shtei Alechem have to be ba'aretz. It has to be only from Eretz Yisrael, and Bizman. They both have a fixed time. The Omer and Shtei Alechem, Omer is 16th of Nisan, Shtei Alechem is on Shavuos. And Chadash, they both have to be from the new crop. The Hani Nefishin. And it's more, to the contrary, the Omer is more comparable to the Lechem upon him. So we should say that we exclude Menachos Nesachim. Says the Gemara, Mistavra Nefesh. It says Nefesh, that which is done with an individual is included, while the he is coming to exclude the Lechem upon him, where there's no Levina and no Shemen.
Can I ask something on Gemara before? I mean, why do we need a pasuk to be marveh for the Minchas Shmini? It happened already. Like, what's the purpose of it?
Well, the pasuk is for pasuk is before they did it.
I mean, that was they had to learn it to do it that way.
Right. Now,
I'm sorry, Rabbi, excuse my ignorance on this, but what was special about the 8th day?
the 8th day they brought a special mincha that they didn't bring the other days.
And what was the 8th day?
The final day of the inauguration.
Oh, the final day. Okay, thank
That
you.
was the first day. The 8th day was opening day. That was the first day for real.
It's the last day of the inauguration.
It wasn't the first day that they went live?
No, after that is, I mean, the first day is when they went live.
Yeah, that B'yam Hashmini is the first day.
No, the first day of the inauguration they went live.
When was that? The day after the 8th day?
No,
When was it?
there was 7 days and then the 8th day.
What was the 8th day?
The day after the 7 days.
The 8th day was the first day they went live.
I don't know what you mean by that. They offered karbanos the 7 days.
The 7 days were practice. The 8th day, this now, where Moshe carve on his back. Now, the 7th day, Moshe did the 7th day.
Right, but I don't. Okay, you're arguing on a point that has nothing to do with this. You're saying that when Moshe did it, it didn't count. It was
No,
just.
it didn't count, but he wasn't-
Why do you think it's called the 8th day?
I don't know.
I'm telling you because the 7 days are also inaugural days.
Okay.
Now,
eighth day you find was late?
Yes. V'chayev al Hashem b'fnei atzma. Now, if you take a minchas chayte, this is something that we have to really find somebody. Is he still here? Is Marshall still here? Yeah, he's still here. Yeah, so it's not enough that Marshall has a minchas chayte, but he goes ahead and he puts oil in it. He gets malchus. If he puts levina in it, he gets malchus, a second malchus. V'chayev al Hashem b'fnei atzmai, v'chayev al levina b'fnei atzmai. But Nasan alei Hashem, and if he introduced oil, pasla. If he introduced frankincense, he doesn't passel it. He could just sweep it away, and it could be good. Remember, frankincense are granules, so you could just sweep it away, and it would be good.
Did they burn the frankincense?
Yes. Well, on karbanos that had it. Levina, if he introduced levina, yilkatena, just gather away. Now, what about after the kmitza is done? Could you add oil to the shirayim? Nasan shemen al shireha, eina oiver b'loisase. If you introduce to the remainder oil, you're not over alav. What about if he goes ahead and places a keli of oil or of frankincense on top of the carbon? Nasan keli al gabe keli loy pasel. He doesn't disqualify. Tan Rabbanan lo yasim oleh Hashem, and you shouldn't put oil on it, Marshall. V'im sam pasel. If he puts it, he disqualifies it. Yachol lo yitin oleh levina. I might think the same thing is you shouldn't put on it levina. V'im nasan pasel, and if you put on the levina, you disqualify it. Talmud leimer ki chatas. No, it's still a good sin offering. Yachol af b'shemen. I might think that it's still good if you put it with oil. Talmud leimer he. No, it's still good by levina, but it's still not a chatas by shemen. What makes us see to passel if you introduce oil and not to irrevocably passel where you introduce frankincense? Paisel ani b'shemen, because you can't get it out. She'ef sh'lalaktai. Or machshir ani b'levina, and we allow it by the frankincense. She'ef sh'lalaktai. So here comes the obvious question. And you would understand this. Did Marshall pack out? Okay.
Here.
Oh, you are? We're playing musical chairs over here. Okay.
Oh, I laughed out for a second, that's why.
So here Marshall decides to be a real wise guy. He granulates the levina very fine so that you won't be able to gather it all up. You know, he takes his grinder and he grinds it so fine that would it be puzzle then? Says Gemara, Boy Rabba Barafunim Rabbi Yochanan, Nasan aleh levina shchuka. If he put on it well ground levina, Mao. Do we say it's puzzle? Because the only reason why it was kasha is mishum de'ef shalalakta, because you could gather it all up. V'halayef shalalakta. Oh, Dilma, the reason why it's not puzzle is because it's not absorbed in the mincha. And here too, it's not, the oil absorbs in the mincha. It's not absorbed. And here where it's very fine, also, so the Gemara tries to bring a proof. Tajma, ulevina yilkatena. The levina you got to gather up. So it implies that you have to gather it. If you can't gather it, it's no good. So the Gemara says, well, maybe not. Maybe it's telling you, it's two reasons it's not possible. Chada d'loi mivla. First of all, it's not absorbed. And besides that, v'oid yilkatana, you could move it away. Tajma, machshir ani b'levaina she'efshir l'loikta. So the Gemara says, so you see that it has to be able to be gathered up. If it's Marshall's very fine stuff that can't be gathered up, it's no good. Says the Gemara, hachanami chada v'oid ka'amar. Maybe it means, number one, you could gather it, it's not absorbed. Number two, you could gather it up. So ma'avi Allah, we got to know, Marshall grinds the levaina, what's the din? Because right away, Barry wants to copy him. So, Amr Rav Nachman Yitzchak Tanya, Minchas Chayte Minchas Kanais, these are the menachos of sinners, that we don't want it to be mahudr, we don't want it to be nice, that's why it doesn't have Shem, and that's why it doesn't have levaina. Shenasan aleh levaina, malaked es levaina, you gather up the levaina uksheir. V'imad shaloi likate levainasa, if before you gather up the frankincense, chishev aleh, you had in mind, bein chutz l'zmanai, bein chutz l'mekaymai, that you're going to do it after its time or out of its place, since while the levaina is on, it's no good, it doesn't become pigah. Even if you had in mind, machshava chutz l'zmanai, pasal ve'en b'karas. The imishalike levainasa, but if after you gather away the levaina, mechashiv aleh chutz l'mekaymai, then it's pasal ve'en b'karas. Chutz l'zmanai, we have in mind that you're going to either eat it or smoke it up after its time, pigo v'chayovan alekar. So you see clearly over here that if the levaina is still on, we say that it can't become pigo because at that time it's no good. So we see that the reason isn't because it wasn't absorbed. It was because it wasn't gathered. So the fact that it's not absorbed doesn't make it good. So in Marshall's case, where he grinds it very fine and we can't gather it up, it would be possible. Now, the question is, we said that if while the levaina is on, he has in mind of machshava of either chutz l'zmanai or pigel, or chutz l'zmanai or chutz l'mekaymai, it becomes puzzle. But why does it become puzzle? V'tahave pach, it should be like a jar of oil spilled on it. At that time, the mincha wasn't good. So why should a machshava passel? V'amai passel b'machshava. Dichuhu, at that time, it was rejected. Amar Abaya says, remember we said that when it said, if it has on it levaina, chatas kayirachmana, it's still called a chatas. And since it's still called a chatas, that's why you could passel it with a machshava of chutz l'zmanai or chutz l'mekaymai. Rav Amar, no, this is going according to the Mandiyama that doesn't hold of Dichui. Rav Amar, Hamani Chanana Mitzri, the less like Dichuyin, he doesn't hold of rejection. That's the old Shaila on Yom Kippur. If after they shech the Sar La Hashem and they have the blood in the kais, they lose the Sar La Azazel. So now they have to choose another Sar La Azazel. But at the time that the Sar La Azazel died, the blood in the kais didn't have a partner, it was rejected. So some say you have to spill out the blood and choose with another lottery for another tube and start all over again. But Chanana Mitzri doesn't hold that way. The Tanya Chanana Mitzri Omer, afilu dam bekais. Even if the blood is in the kais, maybe chaveiroi shaloi ba'agrala, you could bring a companion, another Sar La Azazel, umazavig loi. Rav Ashi says we could hold of dichui. But over here, since you have biyodayim to remove the levaina, it's not considered at that time to be rejected. Something that you have the potential to remove is not considered rejected. Rav Ashi Amakol shebiyodai lo yavi dichui. And Omar Rav Ada Kavasei de Rav Ashi mistav, because we find that Rabbi Yehuda holds of Dichui. It's amazing how many Gemaras we're having about Pesach now. It's amazing. The man shemat le de islay Dichuyin, who holds of rejection? Rabbi Yehudi. Did not va'oidam Rabbi Yehuda nishbach adam. If the blood of the Sol Hashem spills out, then you have to let the Sol Azazel die and choose 2 new goats. Yom HaMishtalech, Meis HaMishtalech, the Sol Azazel dies, Yeshafach Adam, you have to spill out the blood. Yet on Erev Pesach, he doesn't hold. On Erev Pesach, where they passed everything around, it says they scoop up 1 scoop of blood from the floor and put it on the Mizbeach. But when it was on the floor, it was rejected. But since you could scoop it off the floor, it's not considered rejected. They filled up a goblet from the blood on the floor in the Azara.
Going back into cliches.
Yeah. And they threw it once to the Yisayid. So it should have been rejected when it was on the floor, but since it's biyodai to do this, it's not considered rejected. Okay, we're going to stop over here and now have a very, very special Haggadah shir.